Welcome back, everyone. Our next topic is badges and how cool they can be. Please welcome Igor.
So, hi everyone. So after a couple of FPGA talks, now we're switching to some lighter topics. This will not be very technical talk. It will be like overview of some of new ideas we implemented, and if I was smart, this talk would be called audience hacking, but I wasn't, so it's like huge mess of words. But you'll see what's going on. So basically, just to introduce myself, my name is Igor. I'm a software and hardware developer, mostly doing some custom hardware for clients, prototyping, R&D services. I have all of that work. I work to my company called Hyperglitch. That was my alias before, but I just named the company that way. I'm sort of a hacker, maker, musician, also one of the founders of the Radiona makerspace in Zagreb. And this is my second time at BalCCon. Last year I talked about this. I'm the author of this Jellyfish OPP, Open Power Profiler. It's an open hardware device as a programmable power supply, battery simulator for like various low power profiling. It's currently in some barely usable shape. I have some initial firmware and made a couple of devices and looking for contributors and to continue to finish the device because it's a really interesting device, but that's not the topic of today's talk. So today I'm going to talk about conference badges. So basically, these conference badges, it all started, I don't know, 20 years ago with Joe and on DEF CON, and throughout the years, it spread around the world. Many conferences have their electronic badges, and yeah, they're quite popular. But there are different types of these conference badges. We can like split them into a few categories. There are some basic ones which are just basic decorations, blinking lights, just looking nice like this one. Then there are ones which include some challenge or puzzle, thing to be solved, thing to be hacked, thing like that. And then there are like complex, full-blown computer devices, multi-tools, development boards. And that type depends on the conference. For example, for the event type, for example, the really specialized events, for example, like this, like BalCCon, like DEF CON, like Hackaday SuperCon, where there's a lot of people which are focused in one field. They tend to have more complex badges with challenges and other things which are meant to be hacked. And other events where the crowd is more diverse or not so technical tend to have some like art pieces where the form is much more important than the function. Like with a bunch of blinking lights and everything. Yeah, basically, since I first found about these electronic conference badges, I really fell in love with them. I was hooked up, and I actually really wanted to like design one of my own, to try some of my own ideas, because it's fun field to play with something, to try to do some creative work. So let's just make a small digression. There is a what's going on? Okay. there's a conference in Zagreb in Croatia called BalCCC2k25. It is the oldest and the biggest conference in this region, which covers the themes of open source, open standards, Linux, and so on. It's been going on for the last 32 years, and I've been part of it for the last, I think, 17 or something like that. First, I was volunteering there, then I was just a participant. Lately, I was also a speaker. So I know the crowd, and it's really nice conference. It has a really nice community of people around it. It's every year it's like connects around 300 people or so. So in 2024, I approached the organizers because, as I said, I really wanted to make a conference, but I really wanted to make a conference badge, but no one was like asking me to do it. So I approached the organizers and said, like, do you want me to make you a badge? And like they actually didn't know what to expect, but they said, like, yeah, let's try. Let's see what you'll do. And yeah, they'll agree. I will volunteer to make the badge, and they will then cover the production of. We wanted to go with like the 50 pieces just to test if it even makes sense. At that time, okay, I was looking also badges from other conferences, and most of the popular ones were like quite complex, but basically based around the usually ESP32 with some display and option for hackability, which was good because there was pretty much familiar platform for everyone, and they could easily hack on it. But those just, in my opinion, those were just powerful computers with some specific puzzles or challenges for hacking. The thing with this BalCCC2k conference, it has like really diverse attendees. People who come there are sysadmin, DevOps, programmers, business people, students, teachers. So they're not so specific into one area. So we cannot give them like CTF or some hacking challenge on the badge. But I wanted to do something which will somehow connect those people, because as I said, different kinds. Different groups of people, and between the sessions, between the talks, they would usually group each other. Like you have people from one company here, people from other company there, and they're mingling between themselves. So we were thinking about it and like decided, let's try to make some, using this badge, let's try to make some game for the attendees to encourage them to mingle in between each other, to talk. So groups which would usually stand each on their own side, that would actually start talking and maybe find some common interests and so on. Okay, yeah. So because I was designing the hardware, I want some low power things, so it has STM32L4 MCU. I want to have e-paper display, some infrared transmitter, receiver, light sensor, touch button, and of course the LEDs because it has to blink. But why I chose these components? Basically, in order to this is how the badge looks, is this one. So the whole idea was, since we have the main task of the badge is to display the person's name. So that's like, it can be used as like normal card. But the main point is it has infrared transmitter and a receiver. I made it like that so it sends its own ID once a minute or so. and it's also constantly listening for the surroundings. So if it sees another badge which it hasn't seen before, it increases a badge counter, so there's some sort of badge counter, but also on the badge there is this side with some 12 blocks. We decided that there were 12 special badges which we gave to the organizers, to keynote speakers, and some important people. So if you meet with one of those badges, you uncover a piece of the image. And since I made it so it sends only once a minute, you basically had to come in front of someone and stand there for up to a minute. And while you're standing there, you ask what are you doing, how are you, and stuff like that. And just to say a few more details, technical details. So we also had LEDs. The beak is capacitive touch button where I can change the blink pattern. Because there are any connections to the outside world, I made a small web app where you can enter the text, and it encodes that text into the black and white flashing of the display. So I'm using the light sensor to decode that, and that's the way to set the text on the screen. So it was actually, I also didn't know what to expect with this because it was our first try, but it was so amazing to see people just standing like this in front of each other. Our initial goal was actually fulfilled because people were actually mingling together, talking, and it was fun. There were couple of people who wanted to have the highest score on the badge count, so they're like, oh, I haven't seen you. Oh, do you know who has this square or stuff like that? So it was actually really fun, and we made only 50 pieces, which turned out to be too low number because they were sold out by the middle of the first day. So it's a 2-day conference. So yeah, that experiment was a success. So yeah, I immediately started planning for the next year because it was amazing. Yeah, I need to increase the timeout on the screen. But yes, but the thing is, with all of these things, they have their purpose, which is to have some purpose at the conference. But after that conference, they will end up in a drawer or in the trash bin or somewhere. Maybe some power users will use it as a development board or for something, but to iterate on the previous slide, badges can be a couple of different types, but are we just making some more electronic ways to be thrown away after a conference? So that got me thinking, we have the idea to engage the crowd into doing, but let's add something to make the badge usable also after the conference, because to add some feature to it to make it usable. Sorry, just a sec. So for this year, I had a meeting with the organizer, and they were, because of the success of the first year badge, they were quite open to anything that I suggest, but they wanted let's go with NFC this year, and let's have some treasure hunt game, and that were the only ideas, and it was up to me to handle everything else. I wanted it to be reusable, and since the last year's badge didn't have any sort of outside connections for example, for setting the text, I wanted to add a USB connection to have some sort of communication. I wanted some easy configuration so some things can be done directly on the badge. And for the display, I wanted to go with, LED matrix, but simulate the 9-segment display. And this is it. What's the next slide? Okay, so yeah. From the hardware side, we again have some STM32 microcontroller. We have like huge amount of LEDs for the display, some icon, the logo of the conference, 2 buttons, NFC part, and this time we also, like, of course, we need to have a game to encourage the networking, but we spiced it up a bit by introducing the prizes. So the first day of the conference, there were like 2 modes. We had the treasure hunt game, where we had hidden NFC tags around the conference area. So there was like the first person who discovers all, how many, 9 of them, would get the prize. And when you discover each of those hidden tags, a part of this logo lights up. And the second prize was like the person with the highest badge count gets the second prize. But with the badge, you can like press a button and see how many badges have you seen and how many treasure tags have you found. But we added a twist, like we encouraged hacking. So if you can hack your way to the prize, that's fine. And again, it turned out great, because like this is on the left is an example of the hidden tag, and it was super fun. Like you could place them in the plain sight, like on some unexpected place, like basically put it here, and no one sees it for half of the day. And on the second, like you could just tap 2 badges and increase the badge counters. But since it's NFC and it's basically instantaneous, so you could just go tap and leave, I added some delays to it to make the process longer, so that people have time to exchange a few words. But the thing, and it also turned great. People were happy. We made 100 pieces. All were sold out immediately, and yeah. But in my opinion, the best feature was the USB connection that I added for me, because badge has a couple of modes. You can switch it. There's also some simple game on it, but you can switch it to so-called USB pass-through mode, where after you connect the USB, you can set the state of each LED from the USB, or write some strings and read the state of the buttons and the NFC. And also after I published the schematic and the code, I also made a script which, when you connect it to a computer, it displays the clock, and it displays the desktop notifications, which you can't. So it blinks up, displays the notification. And actually, this is my badge. I'm using it every day. It stands on my desk. I made a 3D printable stand for it. It's super nice to use because it looks nice. It's interesting because of this display. You can also set the brightness to decrease to make it subtle. And we fulfilled our goals. We have made the people do something, interact with each other, made it usable, and also 2 days after the conference, one of the attendees actually immediately made his own integration. He integrated the Home Assistant notification into it, so he has it at home, displaying temperatures or whatever from the Home Assistant. So yeah, that was really great. And yeah, so we started, the first idea was let's not make just another badge tool, let's try to do something with this diverse audience. And in my opinion, we greatly succeeded at that. So now I'm figuring out what to do for the next year. But just, that was that conceptual part. But as always, when you're doing something which has some deadline, some problems appear, which are always interesting to speak about. So during the production of this badge, we also had some really fun things. But actually, we started doing it on time. I think with conferences was in May, and I think I started making the first prototype in February. So we had enough time for the start, and got the first prototype, and then basically tested everything. Everything worked by itself, but then I tried like putting the firmware together, and we have a USB, and we have this NFC chip. NFC chip is basically just the NFC front end, and all of the decoding is done in the firmware. So it requires quite a lot of both the flash and the RAM. And I just enabled the support for USB and the NFC, and I was missing a lot, huge amount of RAM and flash. And I didn't want to do a redesign to test the board before, but this was really easy to solve because luckily we were producing at a JLC PCB, which is actually quite great for this stuff, but they have their own stock, and you select items from their stock, and that's why they're fast. Luckily, in their stock they had another microcontroller with more RAM, more flash, but with completely the same pin out. I think one pin was different, but I managed basically to buy the chip, test it will work, so we got that problem solved. But like now everything was checked, I got the thumbs up to start the production. It was at the beginning of the May, and I went to make an order. I made an order to make sure was the price. They gave me a thumbs up, and when I was ready to actually make an order, I went to the JLC site. Bam! Both the NFC chip and the OLED matrix chips were completely out of stock. But 2 days before there were like a couple of thousand of each. So that sucked quite a lot, and we didn't know what to do. But at the end, after something I decided, no, we'll order it without it. I will get those two chips from the Mauser at double the price, but never mind. And I will solder them myself. It's like, how hard could it be to do it, two small chips on 100 boards? Yeah, and those production, for some reason, was delayed, and I got the boards without those two chips like 2 days before the conference. So this is NFC chip. I managed to solder all the chips in 1 day, like for 100 boards, but then had to go to the Zagreb for the conference with no firmware wasn't done yet, and nothing was flashed. So this is like fun with timestamp. So this is the night before the conference. At 30 minutes after the midnight, I had the firmware ready and started flashing the boards. This is the programming jig. At 2 a.m. I had 100 flashed boards. At 3:09 I had like battery holders soldered, and at 5:30 I took this promo image and started writing documentation, and the conference was starting at 8. But we managed it, and I hadn't slept that night, but that was it. So thank you. And I think if there's any question, oh, there is one.
It was a great presentation. I really love that.
Thanks.
I'm a fan of badges myself. I have a collection, so it's. I don't have them with me, but yeah, and I paid some money for them, so not only from the conferences. Anyway, I was curious. I have two questions. First of all, what is usually the normal budget to develop such a badge? What should be the cost? I mean, in order to make it appealing for people to buy it, because you cannot charge $150.
Yeah.
What would be the, let's say, average budget that you'd look to fit in?
Well, we were selling them for last year. I think it was 40 euros, but the production price was around 20 euros because per badge. Last year the expensive component was the e-paper display, and this year the expensive was because we had to order these chips from Mauser. It was the first initial estimation was 10 euros per badge, but because getting chips from Mauser at double the price increased to around 20 euros. A little bit less than 20 euros per badge production price. So.
Okay. fair. And my second question is, roughly, can you count how much effort or time have you put in, like in man hours, to create from scratch to the final product? I mean, yourself.
Yeah.
It's like
it's hard to tell because I did it in many.
Just
phases.
estimate.
But I guess like 3 weeks of full-time work, something like that. Not counting the waiting for the board and 3 to 4 weeks depending on the badge.
Any more questions?
Why do badge creators try so hard to make us talk to each other, like in the conference?
Because they hate you. No, because it was when you have a small community, it's like have a small community which hangs out each year, but each year there are small groups, small separate groups. So let's try to somehow force them to mingle and talk.
Fair point.
Thank you for the presentation. And I know the answer of the questions, but are the board open source? So that's
yeah, of course, everything is open source. Yes, on my website there was like link hyperglick.com. There's like detailed write-ups of both the badges and all the other projects I work on with GitHub link with schematic code and everything. So, oh, another one.
Thank you so much for this talk. It was great. I'm curious whether outside of the conferences that you've attended, whether there are some resources where people have assembled all the different types of badges. So what are all the other places that you'll look for inspiration when making your own?
I don't know, just surfing around. Hackaday often publishes different fun designs, so yeah, I don't know if I got the question correctly.
I guess I'm curious, there's been so many conferences now that have used badges. Is anyone assembling sort of like a repository, like an archive of all sorts of badges?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Hackaday publishes a lot of those articles about badges, so you can like select tag badges and you will see a bunch of the like interesting ones that creators submitted there, but yeah, there are like those hugely popular ones each year for like DEF CON official, I don't know, a couple of these conferences which have like which are quite huge and they have huge teams working for months on badges, and like those are like technically very over-engineered pieces of hardware with great functionality, but there are huge load of small ones. And
right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
There's an opportunity creating an archive. Do we have any more questions?
I also seen there are services online, companies that are actually have job description to produce badges, but they usually do these just blinking stuff, like some image art piece with some sort of blinking LEDs, so like generic ones. But
Thanks, Igor. It was a great presentation. Everyone, please, another applause for Igor.